Well, hello and welcome back. It's hard to believe it's been another 2 weeks already, but it has. So we are back here with another great program. My name is Guy Stevens. I'm the founder and executive director of the Alliance Against Seclusion and Restraint. The Alliance Against Seclusion and Restraint is an organization really dedicated to reducing and eliminating practices like restraint and seclusion. But we also want to see other things that are being done to kids, often in the name of behavior, really change. We want to see a decrease in restraint, seclusion, suspension, expulsion, corporal punishment. Some of these practices absolutely have to be ended. But more broadly, it's all the things that are being done to kids, very often in the name of behavior. And what we know is there are far better ways to support kids and support youth across the country and beyond. And we want to do that to the best of our ability. So I'm excited, as always, to have another great guest here today. Today we have Lily Frame joining us. And Lily actually is a first time for us in a way. Lily is an artist who's going to be talking about an art exhibit. So this is really exciting. So we've got a great program. I do want to let you know, as always, we record these, so they're available after the fact on YouTube, Facebook, and as an audio podcast. A couple of the quick things to mention before we get on to introducing our guest and the exhibit. I did want to mention to you that we've got some great merchandise available. We've been doing some like hats and shirts and things like that, and these are always a lot of fun to wear to your next IEP meeting. So check out our website if you're looking for things like that. I love to see when I think about one of our allies down in North Carolina, Sandy, that stands in front of the Board of Education with her Alliance Against Seclusion and Restraint shirt. Really is something that means a lot to see people doing things that can influence change. So we've got a lot of things happening around the country and around the nation, and hopefully some good change is getting ready to happen. So let me, with all of that, introduce to you to our very special guest today. So today we have with us Lily Frame, and Lily was born and raised in Charleston, West Virginia. She earned her bachelor's degree in film studies at the University of North Carolina in Wilmington in 2020. And although Lily had no formal art training, she dabbles in dance, photography, experimental filmmaking, film theory, film festival programming, collage animation, scan art, performance art, and installation art. Though the merging of dance and filmmaking, or through the merging of dance and filmmaking, Frame creates subjective cinematic dance that aims at expressing her desire to be seen, heard, and felt. Those are all very important words in our community. We want people to be seen, felt, and heard. Her work revolves mostly around the here and now, the human experience, the natural world, and contains stories that distill her life autobiographically and explore familiar trauma. Curiously, her work investigates the recurring tendency in recent history to connect creativity with mental disability and illness. So we are really excited to have Lily Hill here today. So Lily, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Guy. It is such a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And it's such a pleasure to have you. You know, I think back, it's been several months ago that I think we first met, and you had a film that I had come across, and, you know, it really resonated with me. And I know we had a really good conversation, and you told me about this amazing project that you have been working on, which we're, of course, really excited to see. But, you know, just wanted to begin by really thanking you for coming and talking to us today. This is the first time we've had an artist actually talking about the art that they've created, really related to what we're doing here at the Alliance.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great introduction. And I just want to start off by introducing the title of my exhibit, which is called Breaking the Rules, a Minor Spatial Inconvenience. And I think what's important to know is before I start talking about the exhibit, I have to tell my story.
Absolutely.
And I guess it's very important to know about me that I have always been the sort of person who, instead of directly following the steps I've been given, I try different ways of doing things. And this sort of what society calls defiance it accompanies my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and it gives everything that I do. I want to give it a unique fingerprint, and a lot of that stems from my diagnosis with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I remember asking my parents at various points throughout my life if they knew I had, like when they knew I had ADHD. And it's always a resounding when the terrible twos never went away. And I think my mom feels like she jinxed my ADHD. She would tell me stories of how she was in grocery stores, telling people how I was the most peaceful baby and I never cried in public. I never, like my siblings did. I don't think they knew that I was saving it for later on. But so I ended up, I was really fortunate to have a mom who's a nurse and a dad who's a doctor to help me find the proper treatment and figure out when was the proper timing to be diagnosed and to find that treatment. And a lot of my struggles stemmed from school. I really struggled in school. I felt even when I was 6, like very young, I always knew that I was different. And I think the way people treated me affirmed that. And my first grade teacher would try to create a distraction-free zone for me because she knew I struggled. And she had this makeshift Maytag washing machine box. And she would put a desk in it. And I had a box from like 1 to 100. And I had to just do that over and over again because I was supposed to learn it in kindergarten, but I forgot, I think, over the summer. And so I struggled. And there were just hours I spent inside of that box. And I was 6, and this, I guess the treatment and in times like if I would just like, I would ask somebody a question trying to catch up with the other students, I would sort of get in trouble and like sentenced to the box.
Oh,
and I think what's really significant about that is I did not want to go home to my parents and be like, hey, I got put in timeout, or like, because I didn't know what was right and what was wrong.
Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot because, people sometimes assume that they'll know if their child is being put into seclusion or, being restrained at school. And kids don't necessarily want to come home and say, guess what? I got in trouble. And I mean, to hear your story, and of course, you and I have talked before, but to know that you were forced into a box, I mean, just quite literally a box is really upsetting. And, again, kids begin even at that point to feel a lot of shame, because of what's happening. And Lily, I want you to know, and I know you and I've talked about this, but, I'm really sorry about what was done to you. And, I know this is traumatic, and, I appreciate you being willing to share this. As you probably know, we are big advocates for, neurodivergent individuals. We're big advocates for self-advocates. And, the fact that people are, brains are different, should not be something that we look at as a negative thing.
We should celebrate.
Absolutely. I believe neurodiversity is critical. And, it brings us what we're going to see here from you. But, I think about the amazing artists of the world and people that have solved problems and, the differences that are necessary to help us do that. And unfortunately, oftentimes our systems are kind of set up as one size fits all. And if you don't fit in that, these things happen. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just, am sorry that what happened to you happened, and, appreciate your, really, strength to come out and share what you're doing here.
Thank you. Thank you for being you, and thank you for allowing me to connect with others um, who have experienced something similar, or who have had a loved one experience something similar, and to be able to connect with someone on that is like, the relationship is gold to me. It's
Mm-hmm,
very
mm-hmm,
valuable.
mm-hmm,
But I guess I wanted to mention that because I recall, even from like, I think in the box, when I was using my imagination sort of as a survival tactic. I remember whenever I would be in the box, I wouldn't know how long I'd be in there. Sort of sense of time loss, this time is suspended. Um, and I would envision a window like that was connecting me to my classmates. And I really want to acknowledge my parents who helped me, who identified that,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and they never neglected to nurture my creativity. Um, and this project is, I can't separate um, my inner child from like my inner adult. They're the
Mm-hmm.
same.
Mm-hmm.
um, but so yeah, so that leads me, yeah.
So I was just going to ask you. So you said that, going back to the first grade when this was happening, your parents didn't know. When did you share this with your parents, and how did they respond when you did?
Okay, that's a great question. So I um, I did not tell my parents about it until I was 18 or 19. Like I I like sort of just like whispered it to them. I like mumbled it to them. Like that, what I went through, because like I felt it had negatively impacted my self-esteem.
Mm.
Um, and and then as I got older, until the age of 21, I could not like be silent about it anymore. Um, and I used art as a way to communicate what I went through, and it really opened my parents' eyes, because like even at one point, like when I told my mom about it, she said that she had like heard through a parent that there was like a box that a few students would be like put in, but like my mom never knew it was me. Um, and I guess what led what led to me telling my story was, after that experience, I didn't want teachers to know I had ADHD, so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get help. I didn't want help because I was scared the people that were going to help me were going to do that to me. So I refused to do the 504 plan. My parents begged me. They never really understood why I was so like adverse to like the idea of it. So then when I was 18, I realized that if I found out I could get extra time taking my ACT through, and I was introduced to a wonderful resource, and which is West Virginia Rehabilitative Services, and they, through them, like I realized all help, like what I experienced in the past is like not does not apply to everyone, like, and after getting that help, it made me realize that there was something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So all through your schooling, your elementary and middle school and high school, were you just struggling to kind of keep up? Did you find anyone that was supporting you along the way, or was it just a struggle through all those years?
I struggled in math and science, were were horrible. They were just, I could not bear through it. My mom calls it like my mortal enemy because I just struggled so much. But like reading, I struggled to learn how to read, but when I did, I couldn't stop. And I guess what helped me get through it is I had dance every day, and just being able to expel that and be free, like that freedom that I felt moving.
Yeah, and you know the really you know, one of the things that really upsets me when I think about that is just, you know, there's so many kids out there that could use help that aren't getting help, or that are shamed into not getting help. And even just what you're talking about with movement. I mean, this is something we know now. We know that movement can really help people that are having a difficult time. Yet you'd like to think now, you know, years later, that our schools are doing better and better supporting people, but there's still a lot of people that are struggling under systems that are designed for, you know, one profile, and that's it. And you know, of course, I know from talking to you, and also know, you know, just even looking at your name here, that not only did you go on to college, but now you're working on a master's, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have my thesis defense tomorrow, so I'll be like officially sort of done then. Just super exciting. But sort of connecting what you were saying, it led me to a thought that as an artist, I have a podium to help others who have had similar experiences, and that a project that sort of began for me as like a self healing became like me a project into like helping others, especially in like a targeted like especially as like targeted as disabilities, and I think art helped me find a voice that I lost.
You know, I've heard a lot of stories and about people that use, you know, or maybe uses the wrong word, but for who art is a therapeutic healing process. People that have been through trauma, and I saw we have a community member here that's commented, and in fact, I'll share this comment real quick. Donna said, "Lily, I would love to connect. My nonprofit uses art to educate the community about ADHD and dyslexia, blank canvas awareness." And as I recall, help me if I'm wrong here, Donna, you're in North Carolina, I think. Which might be really interesting as well. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, Donna, but I'm pretty sure I recall that you are there. You know, so, and we've had other members of the community. I think about a self-advocate that I know that has, you know, appeared before on our program, that again used art. Yeah, Wilmington, North Carolina is where Donna is. Yeah, so look at that.
My family's in Wilmington. I went to UNCW.
There you go. So that's a connection that I'll definitely help you make. Would love to see you do that. But you know, this whole, you know, the power of art to help people that have been through trauma. I mean, seems like a tremendous, you know, a tremendous potential there. And I mean, is that really kind of part of the role it's been for you? Is you know, kind of not only healing, but you know, something that really, you know, we talk about the strengths of neurodiversity and the strengths of different minds. And, you know, to me, it's all about art, right? You know, I think there's a huge intersection with art and science and a lot of disciplines, but, you know, has art been that to you? I mean, has it, even when you were struggling, was art something you were doing at any level to help you yourself?
Oh, I was creating more as a kid. Like I can't keep up with how I used to create as a kid because I was always making like jewelry. I was always collaging things, occasionally painting the wall. My mom didn't like that, but and I would even like like my friend and I would Sharpie the top of her car, like when we were in like the booster seats. And I don't know why I had a Sharpie, but
Yeah.
I just had like there was a magnetism to
Right.
it for
Right.
me. And this project, it it recreates like what I went through, and it uses architecture and sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
It's a maze of 5 rooms, and each room has a completely different motivation. But some walls are covered. There's one wall covered in 27,000 pills. There's another wall covered in like 4,000 pill bottles. Because I was trying to think about like if I continued to, because I've been on this medicine since I was 6. So if I continued taking it, like what would that visually look like? And just seeing something that is ephemeral, because you take it, it's gone, dissolves. It has, I call the walls of my mind, and it's covered in my life's chronological order. But I am a collector. I save everything. I'm a sentimental junkie. So I took all of these things that I've been dragging around with me for years. Like I didn't even throw away a college paper. And I found a way. There's over 20,000 papers on both of these walls. So just so you can see like where I struggled and where, like, what art I was creating at that time and associate it with my schooling. It became aware to me, you're the reason I don't feel as alone. I didn't know what seclusion and restraint was. Like I typed in Google, trapped in washing machine box in class. Like it's such a weird, specific question. And all the answers to all these questions I had were answered through you and through the knowledge that you're spreading. And I was so empowered by that. And I wanted to create something that can put others who have not experienced seclusion literally in our shoes, so they can foster empathy. And I'm hoping I believe empathy has the power to make so many wonderful things happen. And what I'm hoping is to educate people about the issue and around the lack of really federal policies. And yeah.
That's, as you can imagine. And first of all, I want to thank you for, the very nice things you said. And I'm glad we were able to connect. I can't tell you how meaningful it is to me anytime I talk to somebody and they say something like, this has helped me or helped make a difference. Because that's what it's about, right? It's what can we do to help other people? And you're doing that now through your art. And I have so much admiration for you and your courage to do what you're doing. So thank you, thank you for doing this. And I'll tell you that my mind was exploding with ideas as you were talking, and you were talking about how you wanted people to experience it, because what you've done, and we're going to see this in a few minutes. So people that are watching, just hold on. We're not just going to talk about things. You're going to see things. But, this experience that you've created, and you talked about how you want people to be able to move through this and understand what things are like. I think we should reach out to a few of the political folks in North Carolina that are in range where they could come visit and see if we can get them to come visit. There's a few lawmakers that I'd love to see come on board for passing federal legislation. So you and I might have a little side project to try to get a couple people to come see your exhibit, because I think that's the purpose, right? We want to communicate something that, you probably grew up thinking was, well, maybe this is normal. Maybe a lot of kids have this happen to them. When you're in the first grade and you're 6 or 7 years old and these things are being done to you, the fact that here you are many years later working on your master's, and this is still something that's a big part of who you are, and the trauma from how you were treated, kind of plays a part in your life now. We've got to do what we can to try to influence a change. And again, I have all the respect in the world for your courage and what you're doing. So really excited to think about the possibility of not only how we can share this with people today, but how we can share it with other people and they can understand the experience. So thank you for doing this. Anything else you want to tell us about the exhibit before we kind of take a tour?
Yeah. Okay. So I absolutely would love to get in contact with.
We will do that.
Yeah.
I actually have there are a couple people that have been on my list that we need to reach out to, that we need to support legislation like the Keeping All Students Safe Act. So I would love to see what we can do to facilitate something like that.
Yeah. Well, great. Are you guys ready for the tour?
I think we are. So everybody that's watching knows we're going to take a very special tour of the exhibit. This is the first time that I've seen some photographs, and what I love is that you mentioned kind of some of the inspiration from the Alliance, and you had reached out to me at one point and said, "Hey, do you have anything that we can share?" And we have some cards that were printed there. So it's a great way to communicate to people, about restrained seclusion. So I think we are very ready. So if you want to take us on the tour, and we'll hope that everything works technically. If we have any problems, we'll figure it out as we go.
You will be the first eyes to really view this. There's some minor tweaks I have to make, but overall, it is a complete work. I'm going to put you on this cart.
Okay. And I know you've kind of prepped the cart to do the tour for us. So, this is, it's great to be able to share this with, share this with the audience.
So this is the outside of the maze, and the entrance is over here. It's in an L configuration. Okay. So if you were to approach, you start off in this room, and there's 3 rules. There's 3 rules for entering, because it's called breaking the rules. So there has to be rules. The 3 rules are: 1, only one person can be in a room at a time. 2, you cannot enter until you hear. And 3, silence is mandatory. So what the audience doesn't know is the duration between the bell rings, because you can't move to the next room until the bell rings. So I'm trying to suspend their time in a way that mirrors being secluded, so they have more of that point of view. And so this is the first room, and you can sort of see it. There's a silhouette. Can you see the silhouette?
Yep, I can. Yep.
It's representative of childhood Lily. And fun fact, I was able to really connect with my cousin. This is my little 6-year-old cousin. You can't really see it, but here, let's go over here. And the figure is actually a silhouette of my my cousin who's 6 years old, has ADHD, has very similar struggles, such as myself. And her brother, who is also my cousin, has Down syndrome, and he is homeschooled because he was restrained. And just being able to connect, like I didn't know that, like about my family, and just to be able to connect. So this first room is just takes the outside of the washing machine box and brings it inside, because this is when I'd be sitting in class, this sign like just scared me, and I struggled reading. I struggled so much with reading, but the fact that May and tag were like two very simple words for me. And I will take you to the next room. I had a really hard time creating that room because
the trauma probably associated with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably my least favorite room as an artist. So then I take you to this room, and it says on this wall, oh no, we're good.
Okay.
So in all the dimensions of the maze are met. So if you're physically handicapped, you're accommodated. So I wanted to keep that in mind. So on this wall it says, "What have you done?" And then on the opposite wall, parallel to it, it says, "What have you not done?" So I'm sort of going between those poles all the time. So this corner right here there will be videos playing on it of a mouse that I filmed running through a tiny scale model of this. And I have a security camera there. Or surveillance, because I wanted to address the lack of surveillance. And whenever the viewers are in this room, they sort of, the mouse is a metaphor for myself, like being trapped. And I also wanted to cite how they've studied behavior through mice. And while I think that can be applicable, I think they can learn more from humans.
I mean, and that's a big, concern that we have is today, decades and nearly a century later, we're continuing to use behaviorism approaches that were really created around mice and dogs and rats on kids, and that just doesn't make any sense. We've got far better things we can and should be doing. It's such a strong metaphor.
Yeah, and so on this wall, there's a loop of the maze. I put a remote there. It's not even compatible to the TV, but I sort of wanted to have that metaphor of like that loss of control.
Right.
On this wall, there's a ledge, but I was able to get my medical. I was able to get the transcripts from my interview when I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I reenacted it, but I voiced both the psychiatrist and the child. And that's a separate piece all on its own. And so I'll take you to the next room, which is one of my favorite rooms. And I feel like truly embodies, it's a visual manifestation of my experience. Because when I was secluded, I felt like I had to constantly like overcompensate. And teachers like wouldn't think I was capable.
Right. Right.
And so I would always do so much extra work so that I'd be like, here you go. Like, I promise, like, I'm a good student. So
Mm-hmm.
just keep that in mind with this
Mm-hmm.
room. And
Okay.
I'm also trying to define, get audiences to learn what seclusion and restraint
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first wall you see.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty large. Starts up there. And that is what I call the wall of my mind. But that's the first part, because it's years 1998. Not sure if you can see the numbers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So
Yep.
it's like my life chronologically,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so people can sort of immerse themselves and like see what teachers were saying, like you can do better, or you can't use the word love in a sentence if it doesn't have 7 or more words.
Mm-hmm.
But on this wall, I took PVC. I took PVC roofing materials,
Okay.
and I defined what the lighting isn't great right now.
That's okay. We can see.
But I'm trying to use this PVC label, this fake paper. Well, there's an uneasiness to it because of the jagginess of the material. And I wanted to define it in a way that made people stop. And this is about 7 feet wide. So like if the viewer or the participant is to be engaged with it, they have to get close to it and like move around to be like to read. And on the paralleling wall, I define restraint, because while this experience for me was just seclusion, I feel like since I'm at the podium talking about seclusion, I have to bring up restraint, because that's I can't even think about it. The other wall is the second part of my life. So the lower the papers are to the ground, the more current.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that room is supposed to embody this overcompensation. I felt, and it's a feeling that like I tell people like I feel like I really overcompensate, and like being able to visually see it has a different oomph to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I just think that, the low expectations, the negative comments, the lack of support, leads you to a lot of negative self-talk, and how all these things have a tremendous power over us, and, how we see ourselves. And, I think that room really kind of shows that, where you find yourself trying to overcompensate, trying to, kids want to please people. And, when you have a kid that's struggling and all you have to share with them are negative things, it has such an impact, even years later. People need to realize the impact of the things they do.
And I couldn't have said that any better. And this like testifying to this outpouring and globs of work, and I call it a tsunami of work. I think it's my coping mechanism to it, and in a way, being able, this room, like before I made it, I never felt like I was ever going to be enough for others. And I think that stemmed from not being enough for myself. So being able to make this room and see everything I've done has filled me with a sense of pride I've never known before.
That's amazing. And I hope that, you realize, one, how amazing you are, but two, what an influence this may have on so many. I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll take you to the next room.
Okay.
This room, I have one, I have some things to correct, but it's pretty much done.
On that note, when does the exhibit officially open?
Yeah, so the exhibit officially opens Saturday from 1 to 6 at the Power Plant Gallery in Durham, North Carolina, which is located at the American Tobacco campus, if you're familiar with North Carolina. And I have a live artist talk, which will be really interactive, because as part of my disability, I'd like to be very tactile. It's very therapeutic.
Are you by any chance going to stream that live artist talk?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure you share it with me. I'd love to share it with our audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So this next room is I'm citing the Secretary of Education's 15 principles, which they defined. And I guess before I show you anything else, I want to mention that when I was making this room, I was thinking about the material of the box and the corrugated nature of it. And for some reason I was like, where's the solution? Like, where is there a solution to seclusion, or seclusion to solution? Like, you could flip those words back and forth and they'd have a different meaning. But I guess since they're trapped, the viewer, there's a sense of being trapped in this room. I want the viewer to be trapped in answers and like possibilities for the future. So I have to move the lights around, but there's on each wall, I don't have the lights leave great right now, but here, this wall you'll be able to see. It's really legible.
Yeah, no, we can definitely get a sense of it. Yeah. There we go. Yep.
So there's three principles on each wall. So you're thinking, yeah, 4 times 3 is 12. But I'm also using the ground, which is that's the part I don't have finished. And I'm putting the last 3 principles on there because I feel like it's a text that people are like walking over and not stopping to inspect. But I have like a digital, it's like a digital sticker that you put on the ground of this for 12 or for 13 to 15. But this room I have to do a little work on it. It'll be so much more different by tomorrow. But just the idea of this corrugated box is, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to share a comment with you really quick as we're going through. Violet Jones said, "Lily, your installation's so powerful. Your story really humanizes the issue." And just so you know, I think I probably told you this before, but we do in fact have an international audience, and we have somebody here from New Zealand that's watching. And Linda said, "This is really interesting. Thanks, Lily. Love the interface between lived experiences and art, and watching from New Zealand." And Donna said, "Love the PVC pile." So you get a lot of great comments here as you're going through.
Thank you so much. These comments, like when I was making this, I felt like physically like alone, and it's things like this that that brings so much healing to me, and it means the world.
Well, and I can't help but think that, you doing this, you creating this exhibit, um, will make more people aware. And, the more people that we have that are aware, the more people that understand the experience, the more powerful we are in terms of affecting change. So, by doing the art that not only has been a process for you that's been therapeutic, it's there's benefit to this that could be amazing. And I really I love what you're doing with this. So let me shut up and let you keep on the floor.
Thank you. So this is the last room of my installation. I want to give a few notes before I reveal it. This is probably I've spent half of my time on this, building this entire thing, on just the stuff on these walls. And there's only two walls filled, but I felt like I couldn't finish my installation without talking about bringing up medicine and treatment, and bringing seclusion into, like, bringing these objects of medicine to this idea of seclusion that people think is like some sort of treatment. And also, I feel like I have a codependency, like, on my medicine, because I've been on it my whole life. I don't know who I am without it. And I guess I want this room just to make viewers question, what is treatment? Is seclusion treatment? Is medicine treatment? So with that, I will reveal. Okay, we're gonna start. Now, I know you're gonna think this is just an orange wall. It looks like a plain orange wall. If you get really close. And this is the 27,000 things of pills.
Wow.
And that is approximately like 7 until I was 73, if I took my medicine until then. And to make something visible like this, it changes. It really makes me think, like, about my future. This wall looks just like orange, right? Get close, and it's made out of panels, like poster panels. I glued pill bottles onto these poster boards, because I used poster boards constantly, because I had this, with my disability, I had this inability to communicate what I was thinking, or to be able to understand what I was feeling. And then this wall, there's a desk, and it has the silhouette. But the first one started with the silhouette of my cousin, who's, while she is a representation of my cousin, she's also a representation of myself, which is what made it beautiful. But this one is adult Lily. So the first room, you start with childhood, and I sort of wanted the viewer to be immersed in the consciousness of someone who experienced this. And so then and then on that wall, I have audio. It's like a CD player.
Okay.
And I loved CD players as a kid. I remember when I'd go to my therapist, they'd give me like these sleeping, like, it wasn't even ASMR. It was like pretend you're a bouncing ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I would listen. For some reason, they worked. I
Yeah.
loved them.
I got to tell you, Lily, I just love that you know what a CD player is. The older I get, the more I realize people are like, CD? What's that?
I have been having fun with it. It was my dream as a kid to have like a sticker covered CD player.
Mhm.
I had to make the dream come true.
That's great. That's great.
So the viewer at the beginning of the installation has the opportunity to grab headphones, and then at the end throw them away and we'll recycle them. But that is the inside of the maze. But I'm currently I left out a very critical comment. The reason my installation is named Breaking the Rules is because my mom as a kid, she bought me this shirt. And you can probably barely read it.
Yep, I see it now. Yep.
It says Breaking the Rules. And then right beside it, I don't know if you can see it without the glare.
That's it.
It's me in the shirt. And
That's
the whole story behind the photo is my mom was sending me off to school for this picture day. And she was like, Lily, you have to take the sweater off. You have to take the sweater off for the picture. She really wanted to see the Breaking the Rules. And I love that my mom bought that because it showed that like she accepted me. And for the picture, I was still defiant, even though like it's just I can't, like I just couldn't help it.
Right.
That I just had a different way of doing things. And I really love the sweater. And that's overall the message that I want to forward is this acceptingness. And the outside area right here, I'm getting 15 desks. They're coming in today.
Okay.
And I'm recreating what the classroom looked like.
Oh. Okay.
So I'm putting in this corner, that very corner right there.
Okay.
I'm putting a desk, and etched into it says, "I am a child." I'm gonna have a box. I'm gonna put it in a box, and then the way the class was set up is the rest of the students were in these four groups, a group of 4 people, and there were different groups. And I think that was the worst part of it for me, because as somebody who sort of struggled in school, my strength was watching and observing other people and seeing what was right and what was wrong. And when I was secluded, that opportunity was taken away from me. And I don't want other people to ever experience that. And you posted this on social media, but the whole idea of seclusion it's so medieval. It's like how has it gotten into schools? And that's what I want to leave viewers with, that question and that uneasiness. And I want, in a way, for the participant to do something about that uneasiness.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that's really powerful here is, having heard your story, people need to realize the impact that the decisions they do and the things that they do have on people. Here we're talking about something that happened to you when you were in the 1st grade. And here you are, many years later, sharing the experience as a way to, share and bring about change and heal. But, people need to realize, people sometimes think that, well, kids are resilient, so it's okay. Kids are resilient. Trauma is forever. The things that are done to us can stay with us forever. And I think it's so powerful from that perspective. I have a couple more comments here to share real quick. Nicole missed part of it, but said that, thank you for creating this. It's powerful and eye-opening for people. We have a comment here from Dana who said, appreciate you, Lily. Thank you for sharing your experiences. My son is nonverbal, so he cannot share a story. Your voice is strong. Bless you. Donna said, wow, with 3 hearts there. And Nicole said, wow, powerful. And also asked, where is Lily at school? So can you tell us where you're going to school?
Yes, I'm currently going to Duke University, which is, I applied to it as a joke, because in my head, it wasn't really until I got in this setting that I was like, I guess there's something in me, that I just wasn't seeing in myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have Teresa here said, and I think this came up when we were in the pill exhibit, but what professionals see as treatment, others see as trauma. Yep. Violet said, love that your mom is part of the resistance. So, I think going back to the orange word, and love that it sounds like your parents were supportive, and
they have been nothing but supportive of me, and they haven't even seen this. So
you don't think they're watching live right now? Are they not fans of our page?
No. My mom, I told her about this, and she said, "Well, will I be seeing your work? Will I be spoiled?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I can't go," but she said, "I'm gonna watch it. All right, we're gonna watch it as a family."
That's great.
Right after the exhibit.
That sounds great. Let's see a couple more comments here. Hi Lily, love that you're sharing your story. Donna asked, how long will the exhibit be open?
The exhibit will be open from March 26th until April 15th. Okay. And if the gallery hours don't work for people, or you just have time conflicts and you just need some flexibility or something, I have 24/7 access. So if you're interested and you can't come at those times, you're more than welcome to reach out to me via my email or social media.
Okay. Yeah, and you were going to, I think you and I talked about earlier, share with me maybe some things we can share on social media that have kind of the time and the place so people can learn more, and we'll share some of those on the Alliance page as well. And hopefully find plenty of opportunities for people. Don, I think there's a number of people we probably know that could stand a visit to the exhibit. Sandy said, you're truly a bright light. Couldn't agree more. Donna asked, how long did it take you to put together the pill area?
So just those 2 walls were the only things I worked on for 4 months. I made all of this in 8 months. And it's just crazy to me that the shoebox I was carrying around telling, this is what I'm going to make, this is what I'm going to make, became this life-size thing. I'm so excited I ripped my earbuds out.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm trying to think, but the first time we talked, didn't you share with me a little about the shoebox? Or it seems like you shared something with me at that point.
Yeah, I actually,
so I had a great question here from my friend Floyd. Floyd said, any plans to take this on tour?
Yes. So
that's exciting.
My goal for this post-grad is to get some grant money and help finance. I want to target the top, the highest statistics in seclusion and restraint, cities where there's the most prevalence, and market it to those communities where it is an issue.
It would sure be great to have you in the DC area to invite lawmakers to come and see the exhibit. That's something we'll have to think about.
Yeah.
And Christy kind of echoed that, said, so powerful, this display should go on tour. And Nicole said, this is so impressive, art is therapeutic. We need more art, less seclusion and restraint. Couldn't agree more. And Chrissy said, Houston, Texas would love to see it. I just went to Houston not long ago, and it'd be a great place to share it. And we have somebody here saying, we need to bring you to Wilmington, North Carolina. I can help with applying for a grant. There's a positive connection. Absolutely.
You guys are wonderful. I just want to thank everyone for being there. Yeah, it's just so kind.
And Sandy said that you are my hero. So I'm going to pause for a second and let people know that are watching. If you have additional comments or questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. I know we've had a lot of interaction. I appreciate you putting your comments in there and sharing those. So if anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to put those there. And of course, that I always have questions for you. And, part of that question is something you began to talk about a moment ago, kind of getting to, what's next for the exhibit and what other plans do you have?
Yeah, so I'm currently, I'm still trying to navigate through that. I'm hoping to teach, but I would really love to focus on my art. It's just it's just money that's so hard. I love teaching. I wanted to teach since I was a kid, and I think that my experience being secluded made me want to be a teacher. So I could eliminate that somehow, and to really focus on especially young artists' mental, emotional, physical needs. So I guess teaching is an option, but I want to take this on tour, and it's not a site-specific installation, which means it changes, it evolves with each install. So each install and each iteration will be completely different from the next, which I think makes it more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Art therapy, yes.
Yeah. Art therapy, yes. I was getting ready to get to that. And Kelly said, this gives me so much hope for my son. I think that you're bringing such a powerful message to us today, and can't thank you enough for doing that. So one of the things I wanted to hit on, and I thought about this early on as we were talking. So it's not unusual that when somebody comes on here and things will pop in my mind, and before you're done, I'm already planning your next visit. And that's kind of happening here. And, I'm thinking, Lily, and you don't have to commit to it, but I'd love to have you come back sometime and maybe do something on, kind of the therapeutic value of art, and, how art can be healing, maybe even at some point, if you have that interest in teaching, we can find a way to, get a small group together and do something fun like that. But would love to have you come back and talk about kind of the healing power of art.
It's a yes for me. I don't even have to think about it.
Okay. Great. So, I just want to go back to my notes here and see if I had any other specific questions for you. One of the, I guess, questions is, you mentioned that, you would do it, if you did it somewhere else, it would be somewhat unique. Did you have a grant or funding to help you with this project? I know, just even the supplies that you've had to get for doing this, it had to be a pretty hefty expenditure. Were you able to get funding to help with this project?
So this project, what's really unique about it for me is that I come from a filmmaking background. And this was a total departure. When I pitched this to my cohort and my classmates, they were like, what? What? This is so different from what you're doing. And I think I realized, wait, can you say the question again? I forgot.
So now, as you asked me that, suddenly the question flew out of my head as well.
This is what happens. This is what happens to me. I get really passionate and really excited, and then poof.
Right. Well, we were talking a little bit about kind of the, how you were able to fund this, and you kind of went
Oh,
into.
funding.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
that's a wonderful question.
Yeah, and thank you for giving me a second to recover as well. I'm like, what did I ask again?
That's a great question, and
Yeah.
I would love to answer that. I dipped into my funds a bit, but I also I had some help from West Virginia Disability Rehabilitative Services, and they were the people that opened my eyes to what was unethical and what was, and so I've been really appreciative. And like anytime I need like a computer, if it breaks, like there's one mail to my house. Like they've just been so wonderful, and yeah, especially helping me pay for school, and like because a lot of it is a expensive project, but the thing is the walls, most of the walls are moving, like they have wheels. So I was able to go in this gallery space and use their walls and sort of like play like Legos are, I guess. And this is something I would have done as a kid.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love what Donna said about trying to find a grant to help bring you to Wilmington. Wheels are turning in my head too. I mean, I'd love to see something like this in the DC area, because I'd love to get some attention around this. And I think this does a lot of things. It shares your experience and your journey. It shares a problem and why something's a problem and why we need to change. I think art is so powerful. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the exhibit, or kind of about what is coming next for you, not just the exhibit? You're working on your master's now, so tell us where things are leading next.
Yeah, so right now I on top of like the exhibit, I have been sort of writing and compiling an autobiography. And instead of it being me explicitly telling you what I went through, like I'm letting you look through like my doctor, like what my doctor wrote about me in my testing, like she is defiant beyond normal, or like just like the weird, just these documents. Instead of me being like I have ADHD, like here are these documents, like you can really see. And I think by being there, I am being very vulnerable. Like I realize that, but I think by being vulnerable, I think people like will be able to see themselves in different parts of me who have experienced similar instances.
So what would today's Lily say to the 6 or 7 year old Lily, or what would you say to other kids that are neurodivergent, that are kids that are maybe having similar things happen to them? What would you want to share with kids that might be where you were?
I've been thinking a lot about that while I've been working, and I wish younger Lily wouldn't have been so hard on herself, and to really embrace what makes her different, because that you can make that adversity your strength. Things that you can make it there's always, I believe, a silver lining. And I think it's our responsibility to look past, I hate the word disability. I think, but like to think past that word. It's an ability that other people don't have, is how I view it. And I wish I would have known how proud I am of who I am today.
I love to hear that. I love to hear, how you're feeling about yourself today, knowing kind of the really hard road. And, again, from what you've shared about your family, it sounds like they have made an incredible difference. And, I think about the support you had from your family, it sounds like, and I think about the shirt and your mother. Um, and there are a lot of kids that don't have that, though. There are a lot of kids that not only are they suffering at school like you were, but parents are sometimes led to believe that there it's not a parents are led to believe, well, your kid's different and that's not a good thing, or your kid's not able to do these things. And your
Yeah,
parents recognized your abilities and strengths even when others didn't. So it's really difficult. It's really difficult to think about kids that don't have that same kind of support. And one of the things that I would hope is that parents that might see this, or parents that might have children that have different strengths and different abilities, and might not be doing well in our systems that seems to be catering towards making compliant children, not really making creative and all these other great things. We'll keep that in mind. I mean, even at a very young age, your power as a parent, your power as a connection to a child that's having a difficult time is so critical. And I hope your parents watch this, and
oh, they will.
yeah, thank them
Yeah.
for being there for you. I mean, I think that
Mm.
you're working on your master's degree. You've got all these amazing things that you've been doing, and I would venture guess without that kind of help and support, you might be in a really different place right now. And
Yeah.
that's such
I
an important thing.
I this project has like made me like, I've always loved my parents, don't get me wrong, but it
Hmm.
it made me value like love in a new way.
Right.
And yeah, thank you for that's a good, that's just, I'm gonna hit them up with some extra love this weekend.
Well, and the funny thing is, I mean, let's face it, everyone growing up, we go through different phases with our families and our parents, and we all have different circumstances around our lives. And sometimes it's not till a little later that we appreciate the things
Yeah.
that they may have been doing. But I think the sheer importance of them supporting the fact that you're different and that's okay,
Hmm.
because I think our differences are our strengths, right?
Yeah.
And I look at the strengths that you have, and they're absolutely amazing. And I just, again, it's you were unfortunate to go through what you went through, and I'm really sorry that the experience you had is what you had. I'm sorry you went through the trauma you went through, but I am glad that you did have people there that were connected to you, because I think connections are so critical.
Hmm.
Dr. Bruce Perry often talks about how one meaningful relationship with an adult who really gets you and supports you can make all the difference in the world when healing from trauma. And
I
even though there may have been times in your teens
Yeah.
you didn't always appreciate it, because we're all like that, right? um,
Yeah.
I think that you're very reflective on it now, and
That
um,
what you're saying leads me. I have to like make a note of this, because if I don't say it now, then I'll my mind will space out. But I have had the most wonderful mentor, Professor Christine Stiles. She specializes in art and destruction and trauma, and she has been like my light. And she's been that person that you're talking about for
mhm.
me. And I really couldn't have done it without her instruction.
That's great. That's great. Well, listen, we have a few more comments, and then I'm going to let you go, because it's obvious that you still have a little work to do, right?
Yes.
And I say obvious because you showed us, like, we're going to put desk here and we're going to do this. I love what you've done. So let me go through a couple of these real quick. Donna said that your exhibit would fit in so nicely with our dyslexia awareness pieces. Would love to collaborate. And again, I can help you make that connection if you'd like. And Sandy again said, your precious heart, happy tears. Donna said, you are my neurodivergent sister. Lots of love coming towards you. I want to thank you. I want to thank you, one, for being you. I think that you are an amazing person. Again, I'm sorry that you went through what you went through, but it's hard sometimes to move past your own trauma and do things that will not only help you heal sometimes, but can help a lot of other people. And you're doing something right now that could have a really that could have an impact. And I appreciate you doing that and sharing, being vulnerable, sharing your story and your journey. I knew when I first met you and we talked, I'm like, you're just such a bright light in a world sometimes that needs more light. So thank you so much for coming and sharing this with us. I'm really excited about the opening of the exhibit. Hang on the line once I let you go, because we've got other things we'll want to talk about. But thank you so much. Any final words you want to share as we?
Thank you for everything, and thank you for helping me educate people about my exhibit, which is trying to educate people. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. No, I'm happy to work with you. I know we sent some rock cards down for you to be able to share with people as they come through, to raise awareness, and anything we can do to help support what you're doing, let me know. So I'm going to let you go, but if you want to hang out there for a second, I'll circle back with you when we're done. So thank you, Lily, so much for joining us. I want to thank everybody today that made time to come and join us. Really kind of a different program than we usually do, but what a real pleasure to get to see what Lily's been doing, and what an inspiration. We need people that are helping us to bring about change, and what Lily's doing is really, really fantastic. So I do want to mention to you that we have another great program coming up in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, it looks like my screen sharing suddenly has been disabled, so I won't be able to tell you who it is right now. Well, I can tell you who, but I can't share the graphic with you. We have Lee Collier, who is coming to us from Washington State, where he's the Director of School Health and Student Safety. Lee has been doing a lot of work related to restoring seclusion in his history, and he's going to share a little bit about his journey. So look for that in about 2 weeks. And thank you so much for joining us as always. Appreciate all the comments and the gratitude for this. Appreciate all of you. I was thinking about that before we went on today. It means so much to me to have the community that we have, the people that are coming together, the people that are doing things to affect change. Whenever I have an opportunity to talk to somebody, it's such a pleasure to be able to do anything we can to work together. So thank you all so much. See you again in 2 weeks. Take care.